This week on The $1 Million Plan, if you follow our podcast, if you subscribe at PeteThePlanner.com or iTunes, wherever you get your podcasts, it's our 200th episode, so it's a 200 episode celebration. We have a special guest. If you're listening on the radio, I don't know, it's like my 8th year on radio, no celebration for you, but you still get the gift. The gift is the one guest on this program that I've wanted for 8 years and has said no to me. She often does, and she joins me now on the show. Her name is Sarah Dunn. She happens to be my lawfully wedded wife. Is that what you say it?
I think so.
You're my wife. Hello, it's my wife, Mrs. Planner, everybody.
Hi, Peter.
Oh, that's weird how you said that. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thanks for doing this.
You're welcome.
Thanks for sharing my life in your life.
Well, I think I do every day, share your life. But
So here's what we're going to do on the show. We're going to do a few different things. A few years ago, I wrote a blog post called How to Have the Perfect Money Conversation with Your Spouse. Okay? So I like to think we have a nice financial relationship. Your thoughts? You don't have to agree with me.
I think so.
You never do, but do you have, yeah?
Yeah.
So we're going to run through it.
Okay.
And you're going to answer honestly these questions, and it's how I deal with money. Okay? And then in the second segment, listeners, I'm nervous. Can you tell, Nicole, how nervous I am?
I wasn't going to say anything, Pete.
I'm a little nervous. Okay. Dream guest.
It's like our first date.
I was
Very
not nervous.
nervous.
I'm very smooth. It's the second segment. We're going to, listeners have submitted questions for you. Okay? They have questions for you.
Yes.
Third segment, we're going to do a little potpourri. We're going to email bag. We're going to go to the email bag and answer some questions from listeners.
All right.
I am nervous. I don't know why.
I make you nervous.
You do make me nervous. We should point out last weekend you got 93rd in the Marine Corps Marathon in Washington, D.C. out of ladies.
Out of ladies, yes.
That's very impressive.
Thank you.
How was it being around all those real men, the Marines?
You know, it was fine.
A little different experience.
A little different experience.
Yeah, because they were like,
They're like men.
Yeah, they seem manly.
Like manly.
All right, so you can find this blog post. It's called How to Have the Perfect Money Conversation with Your Spouse. You can find it at PeteThePlanner.com. And I would like you to go through this. The whole point of this is to try to get on the same page. We were raised by different people.
I hope so.
Yeah, yeah, me too. But our families, both lovely families, they just do things differently.
Yeah.
Money,
That's true.
relationships, everything, all aspects, right?
Right.
So that's to suggest that there's no reason for you and I to naturally get along in terms of money.
True.
Most couples, like it's different. So you're not naturally predisposed to get along. And so I think these 10 questions we're going to work on help people open up the lines of communication.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's do it.
First one, here we go. It says on the post we should open a bottle of wine. I could go have some, I could go get some, or we could do some bourbon. You don't like bourbon.
I'm not a fan of the bourbon.
We could have some.
I'm not a fan of the bourbon.
Can I ply you with beverages?
I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good. If you want some, you're welcome to.
I don't need it. I'm not nervous. Okay. If you're just joining us on the show, in-studio guest, Mrs. Planner, on the 200th episode of the podcast. Very excited. Question number 1. Is there something I'm currently doing in our financial life, in relation to our financial life, that stresses you out?
No, I don't think so. I mean...
Have I ever, though? I mean, I'm sure I have.
You probably have at times before.
Like, what would I do? What's stressful? The whole I got it thing has got to be a little stressful.
That's a little, right. You obviously have a lot more knowledge in the financial world, in our financial life than I do. So sometimes, I guess, me not understanding or not knowing, where our various investments are or things like that, that can be stressful at times, but...
Yeah, I think an interesting point there, too, is let's all just assume for a second that I really know what the heck I'm doing. Okay, like seriously, let's just assume it. It might not be true, but let's just assume it. If my spouse still feels in the dark with things and still feels uncertain about things, then if you're not me, it's pretty natural that your spouse is going to feel uncomfortable if you leave them in the dark or just say, I got it, right?
Right.
The assumption could be made that if anyone got it, it's me, because this is what I do. And so I'm okay with the fact that in the past that you've definitely felt that way. I think we've gotten better with that, though.
I think so.
I think it's also we've been married for 17 years. So I
Yeah,
think
that's
I've matured a little bit. You're the same. I have matured.
It's a long time.
Nicole, I am nervous.
I love how you keep bringing it up.
I
I'm
know.
thinking,
I'm
nervous.
I'm very transparent. Okay, number 2. What's my most annoying financial habit?
Well, I would say, I don't know if it's annoying or not, but you're definitely the spender
Sure,
in the
true.
relationship.
Yeah.
And this might come up in a subsequent question. But anyway, when you choose to spend money, you'll go all in on something,
Okay.
whether that be your newest fishing
It's a fun time.
hobby.
You've been very
or
tolerant of the fishing.
clothing or what have you, and you will spend more money than I would,
Yeah.
and you will feel comfortable with that,
Yeah.
whereas I will feel guilty or
Sure.
things like that. So,
Okay.
yeah.
If you're just joining us, the perfect money conversation to have with your significant other, and my significant other is here. Very excited. Number 3. What am I good at when it comes to money? Hopefully you don't say spending it, okay? What am I good at? I'm looking for a little praise here.
You are good at, well, obviously, because of your career, you're good at answering my questions.
Okay.
So when I have a question, a financial question about why we do what we do, or what is, I heard this in the news, what
Yeah.
is this? How does that affect us? You're good at answering those
We
questions.
had one the other day. You asked me something. It was a
I
great
did.
question.
And I don't remember what
I
it
don't
was
either,
now.
either.
And maybe it'll
And
come back
also,
to us.
it's also important to point out a lot of the things that we come up with as a company here, me and my coworkers, are born out of your brain because you ask something or you say, why isn't it this way? And then I overthink things all the time because I'm in it. And so we come here and then we deconstruct what you've said and it becomes a process here. So whether you know that or not, you've basically written all of the things that we've done. Okay, number 4. Do you worry about money?
Occasionally.
Okay.
Occasionally.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Let's talk about that. I think the worry for money probably stems back to the answer from question 1. It's when I don't have or when I have a lack of knowledge about what's going on, or like during tax season or something like that. That's
hate taxes.
that's a stressful time. So that might be where the worries crop up for me.
Okay, number 5. Okay. Do you think we were in a better financial position 12 months ago? That's a good question.
No, maybe the same. I don't know.
So,
How to answer
so,
that
so
one.
no. The answer is no. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think we're trending toward being in a better financial position 12 months from now?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. You know, you need a new car probably in the next 18 to 24
Yes.
months. And so we started saving towards that. So by the nature of saving so aggressively towards that goal, I think that alone probably puts us in that position. But I'll say, I was running our health. You're now in the midst of a family meeting, everybody listening and watching at home. I was running our health insurance premiums today. The quote I got today, our health insurance premium, this is the first that you know of this, by the way,
Okay.
would go up 62%.
Oh my goodness.
Nice reaction. That's not what you would say if we were alone.
No. This is the
my goodness.
radio version.
What is this? Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Health insurance. That's a very stressful area for
Absolutely.
me too. If you want to talk about financial stress.
If we could wave a magic wand and eliminate one expense, what would it be? And do we really need a magic wand to eliminate that expense? And don't say health insurance because you can't.
Yeah. Although I would if I could.
Is there an expense that we have that?
You know what? Our one that is like the satellite TV,
Yeah.
like cable TV.
We don't even really watch it that much.
It is so expensive for what we use it for.
Totally agree.
And I wish that we would take the time to figure out better options.
Why don't
there.
we do that? Let's do that this weekend.
Okay.
I will do that. Because I used to watch NFL Sunday Ticket, and that was like why we had the satellite.
Right.
But then I sort of stopped caring about men tackling each other so much.
Sure.
Do you mind if I answer the same questions as they relate to you?
You feel free.
I'm
This
not
is
going
your
to.
show.
No, I'm not going
This
to
is
do
your-
it. But that's
your
what you're
show.
supposed to do next. I'm just not going to do it because it's my show. And then the final questions before we go to break would be, what is the first step we need to do in order to create some positive momentum towards addressing some of the concerns we just discussed? So we had to figure out our health insurance thing. I mean, because here's the thing: we're a very healthy family, despite the fact of what I look like. We're very healthy, but we've now been canceled 3 years in a row because of the nature of healthcare in our country.
Right.
That's so frustrating.
It is frustrating.
So there's that. So in the next week, we need to set a first action step. So this weekend, let's begin to figure out the DirecTV thing. And we've sort of talked about it. Like, do you go to like that Hulu Plus, or like what do you do?
Right. Or something else.
Then we have to write down the shows that, like, I think
And
a
you
good
have to-
step. What
yeah.
shows do you miss? Like Walking
Maybe
Dead.
like a chart system.
We gotta have a chart. Make a spreadsheet.
A spreadsheet this weekend. Yes.
This was great, but we should not celebrate this with a dinner out. Because it spends his money, and finally it says hug aggressively and see what happens.
I don't know about that.
Okay,
I don't know.
sorry, I'm just asking. Okay, let's go to a break. Coming up after the break, the listener submitted questions to Mrs. Planner.
All right.
I'm so excited. $1 Million Plan, the best episode that we've ever had here on the $1 Million Plan. I'm Pete the Planner.
Yeah. Axe hand on the beat. Yes, sir. Glass House. Yes, sir. Mr. Kinetic, Rusty Redenbacher.
Back on the $1 Million Plan, the Mrs. Planner edition. If you're a longtime listener to the show, you're as excited as I am. That's right, my wife, my lovely, lovely wife, Mrs. Planner, Sarah Marie Dunn, joins us now. Marathoner extraordinaire. Hi, thanks for coming on the show.
You're welcome.
I've asked for years.
You have, and I've turned you down for years.
And I really, which actually gets to some of these questions of like, our listeners want to know all sorts of things about you and us. And one of them really revolves around like, how did I propose? Well, not that we're going to go into that story, but you did say no.
I did, in sort of a way, say no to you.
We were like, what are you doing?
I said, what are you doing?
Yeah, which is sort of a no.
And then I told you to get up.
And then we got married, so it worked out well.
Yeah.
All right, so people have submitted questions on social media and email for you. So we're just going to go through some of these questions.
All right.
And then let's see where this goes. Michael wants to know, what is bad about me, Pete, when it comes to money? We sort of covered that in the first segment, but what is bad about me? It's just I get carried away when I like something, and then
Right. When you like something, you're all in
yeah.
with it.
I feel like I've held back a little bit with fishing, or no?
A little bit, I think, but also
You
I
had to
think
talk
the
me out of it.
expenses with fishing aren't as much as maybe other things.
It's a good
Like,
midlife crisis.
Yeah, I mean, it's better than like I'm gonna go buy a car
Sure.
crisis or a motorcycle
know.
or something like that. But yeah, you're all in when you like something.
Like you. It's true. Chris asks, Chris Love, oddly enough.
Oh.
It seems like a segue, but it's not. How do you put up with Peter?
I have no idea.
I'm on the road a lot.
Yeah,
You
you're
don't have to.
gone. You're gone quite a bit.
That's
so-
hard. So, I mean, maybe, does it make your life easier that I'm gone?
No,
Yeah.
no, especially not with kids.
Yeah. If we didn't have kids and I was gone a lot.
Then I'd just be doing whatever I want.
You have a little too much glee in your voice
Yeah.
there. And then how many miles do you run every day?
Good question. Well, it ranges between 3 to 6-ish when I'm not training for something,
All right.
but not every day. Maybe 4 times a week.
Jen wants to know, how do you deal with having kids that are so darn adorable? Now, here's the thing. They're cute kids, but they're really, they're me.
Yeah, both of our kids. Well, yeah,
they're
both
so
of our
loud.
kids have elements of you.
It's not
They
good.
are loud.
Yeah.
They're funny, but
It gets
they
old,
are
just like me.
Yeah.
What wine do you go to when Pete wines? You're a Pinot drinker.
I'm a Pinot drinker, so
right.
yeah, I'll go with Pinot.
And this keep running girl, you look good.
Oh, thank
Okay.
you.
Damien wants to know, please rank the people you live with in the order of maturity.
Oh my goodness. Well, you have to be the most mature of the 3 other people, but
Thank you.
I'd put myself at the top, and
yeah,
then
I would
you,
say so.
and then of the kids, I have no idea.
Man.
It depends on the day.
Yeah, it really does. All right, next question. Actually, is a really good question. Not that the other ones were bad. Well, there's why is she still married to you? And then does my voice go through your head if you're out shopping or you're going to make a purchase? I think I know the answer to this. Like, does Pete the Planner get in your head?
No. No.
Right. I knew you were going to say that because, A, that's not how our relationship is. B, like, you're frugal.
Right. If anything, I'm more conservative than you with spending. So, yeah, your voice doesn't enter my head.
The Jones family emailed.
All right.
They want to know, can we hear her version of our love story of how we met?
The whole story?
You can tell the story, but take it easy. It's a family show.
Well, we were freshmen at Hanover College,
That's right.
Beautiful Hanover College,
Yeah.
Indiana.
Sure.
You saw me, well, you had first seen me in what we like to call the lookbook, which I don't know if Hanover still does this, but
It's brilliant.
it's kind of
They
weird.
give you
It's kind of weird.
a book full of all the pictures of your future classmates. And if you're a freshman boy in college, it's like a catalog
Yeah,
of
it's
ladies.
like a pre-yearbook sort of thing.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So you saw me in there,
Made my selection.
decided that you had seen me in the cafeteria a few times because it's Hanover and there's
Yeah.
one cafeteria.
Yeah.
And then you saw me walking back to my dorm and took off sprinting, probably as fast as you've ever gone. I don't know, although we should tell the story of you trying to run with me.
I'll get there.
We'll get there. Anyway, you ran up to me, grabbed my hand, introduced yourself, kept shaking my hand. When I said that I was from Noblesville, you said,
Well, that was a little creepy. That
It
was a
was
little
creepy.
creepy. But I do my research. Nicole, you know me well enough to know that like I scout menus. I know research, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Before we go somewhere for lunch, we scout the menu to decide if it's worthy of us going there.
Yeah.
Yeah, you had scouted the lookbook.
Yeah. So we met.
So we
Then
met.
a couple days later. We went. Well, I guess the next part's
The next part
important too.
is you had also scouted, again, where my first class was on the first day of class and strategically placed yourself on a bench outside that hall. And I walked by you and I thought, well, there's that guy I met the other night. And I kept walking. And then I looked at my watch and I was a little bit early.
Which is the first time ever.
surprising because Pete the Planner is always early and I am right on time.
Anyway, go ahead.
Anyway, and I looked at my watch and I was early and I thought, I'll go back and say hi to that guy.
Boom.
And the rest is history.
Always planning. Always
but
planning.
I found out later, almost probably like 2 years later, that you had looked up my schedule and had placed yourself
I'm
there.
resourceful. Yeah. Is that stalking? Yes.
It is.
Is it creepy? Yes. Did it work out? We'll see.
It worked for you.
And then, like a week into our relationship, you're like, "Hey, we're going out for a run. Do you want to go?" And I was there for footballs at Hanover for football, but I wasn't in run a lot of mile shape. What did we run? 6 miles?
6 miles, yeah.
And you and your roommate, who was also a runner, are asking me these open-ended questions. I was nearly dying. I never run 6 miles. We get back to the room. I was like, "I'm good. I'll see you girls later." I went back. I threw up. Couldn't go to class for 2 days. I was so physically exhausted.
Which also you didn't tell me about until about 2 or 3 years later that happened.
You are on a
you.
need-to-know basis. Another question here, and it's sort of a weird one, and I'm a little worried as to why someone is asking this, is how do you guys feel about life insurance? I don't know how to answer it other than to say, through the course of our relationship, we got married when we were 22 years old.
We were babies.
We were babies.
We were
got married when we were
babies.
22. I was sort of in the financial insurance business at the time, so early in a relationship, it made sense to get life insurance. Although at 22, you're not.
Did we get it right away?
Yeah.
At 22, we did. Look at you, planner.
I know, and then it's just one of these things. It's like you're 22, you're not thinking about dying, right?
Right.
You're also thinking, on a very practical standpoint, if something were to have happened to me a week after we got married, no offense to me, but what do you care? You just go on with your life, right?
Well, I don't. That seems harsh. But
Well, I mean, we've all met me. It's not that great. But in terms of your career was going, we hadn't created a lifestyle dependent on each other. I think that's the point, right? We didn't need
Right.
both of our incomes to survive per se. Right?
at least not at the start.
No. But then what happens is over time you create dependency on your total household income. So that if one of the incomes goes away, especially if you have children, the need for life insurance is great, right? Now, based on our situation, our scenario, as our lives exist now, I mean, life insurance is very important for both of us, not just for me to have in the event that, or for you to have in the event that I pass away, but vice versa, right?
Sure.
Because of how my job is and where it takes me, like it just, does that answer the question?
And I can't imagine having it, not having it, and having children. And
Yeah. Okay, do you think that because of what I do, or do you think you would always feel that way? Because we have friends that don't have the
Right.
right amount of life insurance and they have kids, and I yell at them.
I probably understand it a bit more
Yeah.
because I'm married to you. So I don't know how if I had married someone else, would I feel the same way? But I think based on our marriage and who I am, I think not having it and having kids would put a stress there that would be easy to take care of.
Back when I was a financial advisor, I had 8 clients under the age of 40 pass away. You know, do you just remember those days?
Yeah.
Just like coming home and you're like, I can't believe so and so died, and every time they'd have varying amounts of life insurance. And one specifically, a guy passed away and he left his wife and 2 kids, and he left $250,000 of life insurance. Now, I don't know if you're listening to this, if that seems like a lot of money, $250,000, but when you have a significant other and 2 young kids and you die and you were a 50-50 breadwinner in the household, that's nothing. It pretty much did nothing. And that was tough. I also remember a guy I went to talk to life insurance with, and he was like, nah, I think I'm good, and we're doing the rest of his financial plan. 2 weeks later, he calls me, and he found it out. He was playing basketball, and he got hit in the chest, and he thought he had a chest bruise. He went in, he had heart cancer. Found out 2 weeks later, and then ended up dying, 6 months or so after that. So I think I don't know how we got talking about life insurance other than the question. I think it's one of those conversations that's just inherently uncomfortable. Like, this is not a
Right.
comfortable conversation.
Right. This got heavy
It
real
did.
fast.
It did. But I guess I would say this: if we're talking about love and relationships, of sort of why you're here, I can just profess my love to you in front of everyone. That's what life insurance is. Like, if something happens to me, I don't want you to have to worry. I don't want you cussing me from beyond the grave, right? And we've seen situations like that.
Yeah.
I've also, we have friends that somehow life insurance or have your friends, your financial things come up when you're hanging out with your friends? I know 2, if not 3 of our group friends, a couple friends, that I've convinced to get life insurance because of a conversation like this. And I wasn't even selling it to them. I just like, what are you doing? I don't know. It's got heavy. You want a
Did.
drink? No?
Did. No.
All right, coming up after the break. Not that you drink when things get difficult. No one. Okay, let's move on. Coming up after the break, we're going to take another listener email. That's what we'll do. On the $1 Million Plan, Mrs. Planner edition, I'm Pete the Planner.
Yeah. Axe hand on the beat.
Back on the $1 Million Plan. Of course, I'm Pete the Planner. Peter Dunn. My wife, my life partner, Mrs. Planner joins me. Sorry I touched you there. It was her hand
Yeah,
if
don't
you're
cross
not
the
watching
line.
on PeteThePlanner.tv. We've been married for 17 years.
We have.
Started dating the first week of college at Hanover College. So sorry about that. 21 years together. So thank you for being on the show. It's our 200th episode of the podcast. So we're celebrating with my dream guest, Abraham Lincoln. Was not available. Nor Daniel Day-Lewis. And so you're here. So here's a question from an emailer. We've actually talked about this question on the show before, Nicole. You're going to remember this from the Paycheck to Paycheck episode. The anesthesiologist.
Oh, yes.
Okay, so here we go. I'm going to put the
Okay.
question. We haven't talked about it on the show other than just briefly, so I'm putting it to you, Sarah. Pete, good morning. Read your article, Paycheck to Paycheck. I'm a well-educated, well-established professional in the chair of an anesthesia department. Okay? He knocked people out. That's
right.
I'm sorry. I make more than $500,000 a year. Still in my first marriage. I like that he includes still in my first marriage. You do not like when I describe you or introduce you as my first wife.
Well, you think it's very funny. You've loved that joke for years.
It's a little funny.
It can be funny at times.
Yeah.
but you love it.
But I live paycheck to paycheck. Not me, this guy. Due to work and other commitments, I have difficulty managing and setting up data-driven goals. Who would you recommend as a paid advisor? So how does a person, because an advisor is not going to help this guy. Right? This should be the takeaway. I should write about this, no? That's the takeaway here. This guy is looking for a financial professional to stop his paycheck-to-paycheck lifestyle making $500,000 a year. Thoughts? Do you have any thoughts? You might not have any thoughts, but curious.
Well, I would say it's obviously it's a spending issue because
Totally. It's not an earning issue.
right. So, but a financial advisor could help, but
You think so?
well, I think he's got to go do sort of the dirty work of figuring out what are those spending issues that are causing this problem.
This makes me think of our discussion about me having someone help me with my fitness. Because I know how to work out. I occasionally work out. Sometimes I tell myself I don't have time to work out. But you and I both know over the last 10 years, the way I get in shape is if I have someone leading the charge for me.
Right. And a financial advisor could do that for him, maybe.
Yeah.
And maybe not. I think it's interesting that he mentions his marriage in there, but doesn't mention his wife in the email. He says, I'm living paycheck to paycheck, and not we are living paycheck to paycheck.
Nicole, did you pick up on that?
No, but Mrs. Planner raises an
Well,
excellent
former English teacher here, so I like to look at words sometimes.
That is a really good point.
So I'm wondering what that means within the email.
And the still in my first marriage, you put two and two together.
Well, yeah, he used the word still too.
God,
But
if he's watching
he's
this right
also
now, he's cringing.
he's also
Cringing.
saying though he's not paying any sort of child
Alimony,
support,
yeah.
alimony, or anything
Split,
like that.
like his income
Right.
or his assets got split in half. Here's my take on situations like this. We know a few people in this income range. When convenience becomes your go-to, right? If you use convenience too much, this is what happens. Because convenience is when you exchange money for time. And this guy has no time, according to him. And so what he's done is, in all aspects of his life, he's solved his time problem with money, right? I don't have time to make dinner. I don't have time to teach my kid how to play the oboe, whatever. I don't know, whatever. I'm just making things up. And so I don't have time to mow my grass. We don't have time to clean our house. And so when they do that, they exchange money. And at some point, you get your time back, but then you lose your money and you're almost in a worse situation. And I think this is exactly what happens here. Like if you go up to anybody, especially in the Midwest, and you say, I make $500,000, or if you look in the mirror and you say to yourself, I make $500,000, you convince yourself you can afford anything, right?
Right.
Is there anything?
Because why would you have financial issues if you make that much money? People who don't make that much money would think that way anyway.
Yeah, think about you're going to buy a new car and you make $500,000 a year. What's your budget? It's whatever you want.
Right.
Right? You go to buy a house. Well, what's your limit? Whatever. Doesn't matter. Right? So there's no constraints. And I think it's just sort of completely backfired on this guy. So I guess the advice would be this. If you make a lot of money and you live paycheck to paycheck, and a lot of money is pretty subjective, do you want to put a number on it?
Well, $500,000 is a lot of money
Okay.
every year, but would you go lower?
This is
That's
where
a lot.
people start sending hate email, just so you
Sure.
know. So I'll say the number.
Okay.
Let's keep you pristine off the hate email. I'm going to say non-major city, okay? A lot of money is probably, as a household, $250, okay?
Okay.
Major city, probably add $150 to that.
Okay.
Major city is probably $400, in my opinion. Nicole, do you have an opinion on that?
Nah, I think I'm going to stay neutral in between the two of this.
Yeah. I don't know. Do you agree with that or no?
I would say so. Do you qualify Indy as a non-major city?
Yeah,
when
absolutely.
you're talking coast.
Top 5 cities.
Okay. When you say,
LA, San Diego, well, I don't
Sure.
even know what's the top 5, but New York,
right. Boston.
Chicago, yeah.
Yeah.
Birmingham, Alabama. I'm just kidding. Yeah, okay. So there you go. Let's do this. Let's take a break. We'll come back after the break. We'll do biggest waste of money of the week. Do you want to do like marathon edition? Can you think of something?
I'll try.
Did I tell you I was tasting scotch when you were running the marathon?
You did. Well, I only figured that out after I finished and I saw your
It's really smiling.
your Twitter feed or your Instagram feed of all the things that you did while
Someone
I was
did
running.
ask me a question via text, and I forgot to ask you, why don't you tweet more? At Mrs. Planner.
At Mrs. Planner, yes. I don't know. I like to remain under the radar.
The fact that you're doing this is remarkable because
Yes.
let's just be honest, you hate this.
Yeah. I don't know. I use Twitter for the news a lot.
Yeah.
I read a lot on Twitter, but I don't tweet a lot.
All right, coming up after the break, Boam, biggest waste of money of the week. Maybe the running edition. Maybe. We'll see. That's next, and more Mrs. Planner right here in the $1 Million Plan. I'm Pete the Planner.
Yeah. Axe hand on the beat. Yes, sir. Glass house. Yes, sir.
This week's biggest waste of money of the week here on the Mrs. Planner edition of the $1 Million Plan. If you're just joining us, first of all, where have you been? The show started a while ago. 200th episode of the podcast, 8th year on the radio, and we're celebrating with my dream guest, the one and only love of my life, Mrs. Planner. Hello.
Hello.
Does the moniker Mrs. Planner bother you? It feels like I take away your identity and I strap mine onto it.
You know what? You did a little bit. I'm used to it now.
Yeah.
But in the very beginning, you came up with that name.
Yeah, that's.
You were
I'm
like,
sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to mature. I feel like I'm getting better.
You're getting better over the years. I mean, you're
You're
aging now.
What? That doesn't seem like a compliment. I used to take my humor too far with you, and you were the butt of my jokes in social circles.
You did.
And it was just like, it was like a teasing, but it always went too far. But I grew up a little bit. So I don't do that anymore. Yeah. But it's funny, like when we're with like a young couple and you see that happening, where were we? And we saw that happening. And I was like, oh, buddy, this is not going to end well for you. Do you remember where that was?
I don't
It
remember
was
where
recent.
that was. I feel like it was recent too.
I was like,
but yeah,
oh,
yeah.
he's in
you
trouble.
used to do that, and
This
not
is,
cool.
All right, you've got the Boam, the running
Okay.
version of the Boam this week. What's this week's biggest waste of money?
Well, I'm going to say that having one of the big like GPS watches.
Yeah, like it looks like this.
Yeah, like you're wearing your iPhone on your wrist.
Yeah.
You don't really need that if you're going to be a runner. Some people like it. I don't want to like step all over them, but
You feel
you know
free.
what? You
Feel
need
free.
a watch of some kind, any kind. It works.
It should
If
be
it
the
can-
cheapest sport in the world.
If it is.
Shoes, watch.
Shoes, you need a watch.
I need a sports bra.
Maybe, sometimes.
Oh.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
You're not.
But yeah, you don't need all the bells and whistles on your watch. Just a simple watch. If it keeps splits, it'll work.
So I want to give another biggest waste of money of the week. It's the Moncler 10 Poldo dog apparel. Poldo is known for its high-end canine outfits. Moncler is known for its down jackets and other sportswear. Moncler 10 Poldo dog apparel is a result of a collaboration between the two, bringing Italian style sensibilities to your pup's winter wardrobe. The collection includes a 4-legged version of Moncler's signature nylon vests and jackets, as well as a knit sweater. Dog jackets starting at $370.
It's an expensive dog jacket.
We don't have a dog anymore.
Oh,
This just got dark.
it got dark again.
You could come back on the show, do you think, sometime?
Maybe sometime.
That was a no. That was a no. You know, I was thinking about what we were going to talk about this week on the show, and this is such a weird thing to bring up. It's financially related. But I always find it reminds me of the beginning of our marriage. When we first got married, you started putting $50 a month into a mutual fund. Remember
Yes.
this, right?
Yes.
All right. It was I think it's a Calamos growth and income, or just the growth
Right.
fund or something like that. What's it worth now? Yeah, go ahead. I don't care.
$17,000 something.
Like $50 a month, and now it's worth $17,000. And I think sometimes when people don't think they can save, or what's the point, we don't miss $50 a month, and we haven't missed it. Maybe it was a little harder when we were 22, but I don't know if we missed it then. But now it's worth $17,000. Sort of a,
Yeah.
I don't know. I could do the math on it and figure out the rate of return. I should probably do that.
You should.
I don't want to,
It's
though.
right up your alley.
I'd rather stick on the anecdotes. So anyway, thank you for being the guest on the show. As we do for some guests on our show, you get to go to dinner with me.
Yay.
That seems like sexual harassment. That felt very Weinsteinish. I'm very sorry. Thanks for coming on the show.
You're welcome.
I owe you big time for everything. Okay, that's it for this week's show. If you want to be on the show, the podcast in which we help one person's financial life a week, go to PeteThePlanner.com/podcast. Read my column in USA Today and watch PeteThePlanner.tv is the only way you'll see my interview with Mrs. Planner. That's it. Thanks again. Sending you good vibes because good vibes are all that I have in the budget. This is the $1 Million Plan, and I'm Pete the Planner.
This is where I came from. Planet Lovetron, where we drop love bombs, funk missiles, and live in soul shelters. No helter-skelter. The heat don't swelter because everybody stays cool. Left many moons ago to bring the philosophies of my ancestors to another place, God. Picked the third rock, gave me to my earth family, and told me to create, and so I am. Pen in my hand, microphone on the stand. Over vinyl, I command and demand. Magnificence in an instance, I can make you dance, cry, or love. Fly as a dove, released from Everest. The fresh is fresh, and you can call me E.T. Word to John Tesh. Let me bless this harmonic presentation. It's amazing, so amazing. I'm the reason. Salutations, I bring you Lovetron greetings from a faraway land. I am the sole controller. Put the remote down and let me take control. You're now a part of my zone, so enjoy yourself. Lovetron can restore your health. I bring you greetings, salutations. How you doing? And is that how y'all say it? The tinkling of the keys is an homage to the little star. I sojourn over poetic descriptions of sound and travel to my other world. Out of this world, spaceship on my arm took me home, fueled by the ink and the megabytes and the hypertext transfer protocol, stronger than the Skynet and the Terminator. I push faders into warp speed, glide with